Let's take this show on the road. Same-ish, different day. I'll be bored out my mind. Hometown, love my place.
Hi friends, let's dye some yarn. Today we're going to do something special. We are going to dye on embroidery yarn. We are dyeing on pearl cotton, size 8, 1 skein, and 4 skeins of size 5. This is the yarn that is usually used when embroidering hardanger, which is something that my sister does. She's amazing at that. And so I originally started dyeing embroidery yarn to give to her for Christmas and birthdays and such. But I thought I'd show you as well how to do it. I may actually add it into my web shop eventually. I haven't gotten around to that yet. But today I will show you how I do it. So the thing with embroidery yarn is that this is a cotton yarn. So it needs to be dyed differently than like wool fibers and such, because this is a plant fiber. So we need to use soda ash to get the dye to adhere to the yarn, and we also need to use a dye that is made specifically for plant fibers. So first of all, we are going to soak our yarn. No, actually, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to prepare our skeins. And these are 25 gram skeins of pearl cotton. And it's the same thing with the size 8, also a 25 gram skein. So they are bigger than the ones you usually buy at the store, which I think are like 10 grams. I don't know if you can tell the difference. This is a finer thread, number 8, than the number 5 one is. And when you embroider hardanger, you use more of the number 5 and you use number 8 for details, if I understood my sister correctly. She's the expert on the topic. But we're going to prepare this the same way we do any yarn that we're going to dye. We're going to use the zip ties to keep our hanks together. Just open them up. Let's see. There we go. Put a zip tie on each of them. And we're going to soak the yarn. So it's the same procedure in that respect as when dyeing with wool or any of the animal fibers. Let's see here. There we go. Let's just shake them a little to spread the yarn. And the last one. There we are. So let's gather them up. There we go. All the skeins. And I'm going to put on some gloves for this next thing. So what we're doing is, like I said, we're using soda ash to make sure the dye adheres to the yarn. And I have a liter of water here, and for that I'm gonna need about 60 milliliters of soda ash, which is a full spoon of this. There we go. I'm adding in the water. I'm going to stir it so that it all dissolves. This is a cold water process of dyeing. So we won't be needing to heat up the yarn during the dye process. We just need to soak it in the soda ash. And once it is done soaking, we will add the dyes we have chosen. And that's it. After that, it just needs to sit for at least 12 hours. And then you can rinse it. I think we're starting to... It's pretty much dissolved now. It dissolves rather quickly. And now we're going to add in the yarns. I'm using the spoon to just tuck it in there. Since this is so small, they are so small, these skeins, I'm just using an old ice cream tub to soak in, which is absolutely fine. And I'm just pushing the yarn down into the water to make sure it gets properly soaked. There we go. And now we're going to let it sit for at least half an hour, and then we are going to start dyeing. It is time to dye some yarn. Okay. As I said, this is a cotton yarn, so we need to use a reactive dye. And I've got this one from Dharma. It's the color Peony, and I'm going to use just one color for this. And I got a little bucket here and a spoon that I can use to poke the yarn. A little whisk to make sure the dye dissolves in the water. We're going to add some water in this measuring cup and do that. Little spoon for the dye. A mask, face mask to protect your airways. A pair of gloves. The yarn that has been soaking for quite a while now. And this is the pot that we're dyeing in. And like I said, with cotton, you do not have to heat it or anything. We're just going to pick up the yarn from the soaking tub. Just squeeze out the water a little bit. Place it in the dyeing tub, dyeing pan. We're going to mix the water and the dye and add it on. Yeah. We're not going to need a lot of fluid for this. So I've poured about 5 deciliters of water in the measuring cup. I'm going to put on the face mask. And I'm going to, we don't need the gloves just yet. We're going to get some dye. It's very bright pink. And like I said, we need a reactive dye for this. Let's add some in the water. Because an acid dye will not work for plant fibers. Let's grab the whisk and blend this. It's a very deep color, and like you can see that. Very deep pink. Like so. I'm just going to put that in water. I'm going to put on the gloves. And I'm just picking them up one by one, squeezing the water out a little bit. Like so. And the last one. There we go. Set this aside. There we are. And now we're just adding the dye. I'm just going to pour it over. There we go. I'm just going to pat it, squeeze in all the dye into the yarn. Make sure I get the bends in the top here. I'm just pushing in dye into the embroidery yarn. I'm just going to flip them a little to make sure I cover everything. Making sure that it's completely soaked. We don't need a lot of water in this. We just need just enough to soak everything. There we go. That is actually it. All we need to do now is to let it rest for at least 12 hours and then we can rinse it. It is time to rinse the yarn. Let's see what we got here. Wow, look at that. That is looking very nice. So we're rinsing it. It's just the same as we are any other yarn. I'm adding cold water to my plastic container. You can rinse directly in the sink if you want, and if you have something else you like to use. I also grab a little bit of soak. It's not actually necessary. You can use just dish soap or shampoo or whatever you got. You will have to rinse a few more times if you do that. With this one, you really only have to rinse once. I usually do 2 times though, just to be on the safe side. So I'm going to add a little bit of that. More water. don't need much because these are so small. I'm just gonna pick them up, squeeze out some of the water, and put them in the rinse tub. Like so. Clean my hands because there's soda ash in this tray. And we're going to pour out the leftovers. And I have a small bowl to just put the skeins in after I've rinsed them. Let's grab one. Squeeze out the water. Set it aside. And rinse the other ones. It does get a little bit tangled. Just dunking it, like so. It's actually the best way to detangle a skein, any skein. There's a little bit of a pink hue in the water, the rinsing water. Which means we had a little more dye than the skeins were able to absorb. It didn't quite exhaust, but that's absolutely fine. That's no problem. Now we're going to give it another quick rinse. Adding some more water. That's sufficient. And we're adding them back in and giving them another quick rinse. Beautiful pink. There we go. And the third one. Squeeze out the water. And the final one. There we go. Just gonna pour out this water. And we have our skeins. We just need to hang them to dry now. And they'll be dry in a couple of days. And I'll be back to show you the finished result. Here is the finished result. We got 4 skeins of pearl cotton number 5, and we got 1 in number 8. Yeah, I'm very happy about this, how the color turned out. I hope you'd like to try it as well. If you do dye some embroidery yarn of your own, please tag me. I'd love to see what you make. And yeah, see you in the next one.